What's good, everybody? This is D&D The Goat, and welcome to another episode of the Premium Podcast. I am a real estate agent. I am your host, David McDonald. I had somebody send me this video about the Fed, and they wanted my opinion on it and a breakdown. So that's what we're going to do. It's very optimistic. Rates are not going up. Check it out.
Is headed next is Mohamed El-Erian, Chief Economic Advisor at Allianz, also president at Queen's College at Cambridge University. Mohamed, let's just start with this premise of whether or not they're going to raise rates. We just heard from Susan Collins, or some commentary that Susan Collins has planned. And it sounded like she thinks you could be potentially in the point where the Fed does need to raise rates again. When you look at it, what's your take just based on the economic data we've heard?
So I think based on the economic data and based on the fact that the Fed is highly data dependent, they will not raise rates this month. That's what the market expects.
Hey, Mohamed, let him know. Rates will not be increased this month. Let's go. Hallelujah. We in there.
There's over a 90% probability that the Fed keeps rates as is. But what they will do is keep the door open.
There always has to be a caveat. But what they will do is keep the door
for at least one more rate hike in the future. And the reason why they're going to do that is twofold. One is the economy is proving stronger than they had anticipated. In fact, they may have to increase their GDP forecast for this year.
If you haven't told, I believe in America. A lot of people may not, but I believe in America and I believe in people. I love people. I believe people. I mean, I listened to this talk the other day. It was from this rabbi, and he said something super profound. The reason why, money is an incredible thing. The reason why money is an incredible thing is because we are not meant to be alone in this world, right? Human beings are not meant to be alone or isolated, or with masks over our face. But nonetheless, we are not meant to be alone. We are meant to actually interact with each other, coexist with each other, live, collaborate, do things with each other, go out and run with each other, right? That's what God put us here to do. But the beautiful thing about money is what it does is it sprouts these ideas and these concepts of business, right? I have a service, you pay for that service, right? We both have our needs met. And then there you go. We have a human being interaction where it might not have happened. So, for example, I own a car dealership, right? The customers that I serve in my car dealership are oftentimes a lot different than the customers that I help, or my clients that I help sell houses to. Now, there's a lot of reasons why they're different, but my point is I get to interact with different vibrating human beings on both sides of the coin in real estate and in cars. And it's very interesting to observe, right? But I love business so much that the car space, right, the dealership space allows me to do more business, more times, more transactions, more times per month than real estate, right? And that's just the natural flow. And so my point is that the beautiful thing about money is it actually does bring us together. The one responsibility that God said that all of us that we have to do is just to make sure that we're doing good business, right? So we're not burning bridges. We're living in his image. We're operating in his image. But back to the video. This is very optimistic. So continue.
The median from 1% to 2%. And remember, we're already in September. So that's quite a meaningful revision. And the second issue is what you've been talking about. We're seeing major moves in oil, iron ore, certain food items. They are supply driven. And that's going to go into headline inflation. And as Joe pointed out, it could even spill over into broader issues. So they're not going to hike this month, but they're going to keep the door open to the possibility of hiking again.
All right. Earlier this morning, we were just talking about the two scenarios. You've got oil prices picking up, other commodities, as you mentioned, but then you have concerns about China really slowing down. What to you is a bigger threat? That China's economy slows down and brings down other economies around the world, or that inflation is much more stubborn and stays at it and forces the Fed or other central banks to do something down the road?
You know, whether you look at the oil market, whether you look at the housing market, we're getting a very peculiar dynamic. which is demand is coming down. I don't expect China to recover anytime soon. Their growth problems are compounded by debt problems, and they can only be addressed by structural measures, not short-term stimulus. So China is not going to bounce back anytime soon. And yet, oil prices will remain high because it's not a demand story, it's a supply story. You see it in the mortgage market. We have mortgage demand down to levels we haven't seen for 20 plus years, but housing prices aren't coming down meaningfully. Why? Because we have a supply problem. So I think increasingly.
Okay, you guys heard that? So mortgage demand is lower, right? Because of interest rates. Now this is should I wait to buy a house? This is the answer to the question. I mean, this is pause. This is a philosophy, a mindset. This is the answer to the question. Should I wait to buy a house? The answer is no. If you can afford, just go ahead and buy. Talk to a professional, DMD, but talk to a professional. And the reason why is because mortgage demand, right? So the number of loans that are being processed is low. The reason why? Interest rates, ding, ding, ding. However, home prices are being stubborn because there's a lack there of supply. So for the people who can buy, there's a lack there of supply, right? And so the prices are, for the most part, still remaining pretty consistent. And this is why I've said this in several videos, right? For the customers when interest rates were historically low, right? Something I believe we will never see again in our lifetime. Unless the whole world ends. But I don't think that's going to happen because I just said I believe in people. I'm going to wait for home prices to come down, right? This is back just a few years ago. You pull that lever down. Nobody anticipated that interest rates would go up to try to hedge inflation. So now that same house that you were going to pay $2,700 for that was at $500,000 is now $5,400, right? A month because interest rates have doubled. So my point is create your perfect moment in the market. And this is that mindset right there, that philosophy structure is the reason why.
We're going to have to acknowledge that the issue facing us is on the supply side. We simply don't have enough supply. And that's why we continue to see prices being so stubborn.
Is that almost a definition of setting things up for stagflation? I mean, could you have the worst of both worlds? Or do you think that this is a problem that we are able to handle because we just eventually make more supply?
The US will be able to handle it. You've heard me say for over a year now, there's no reason for us to fall into a recession unless there's another policy mistake. If you want to talk about stagflation, look at Europe. Look at the United Kingdom. There, the threat of stagflation is very high because they don't have the dynamic economy we have. They don't have the ability to reallocate resources, and they don't have the vision for growth that we have. So I worry less about stagflation in the US, but I do worry about stagflation in Europe and in the Eurozone and in the UK.
And if you want to worry, you can look at.
So, there you have it. That's the answer right there. The Feds aren't raising interest rates this month, but they're leaving the door open, which is a contingency plan, right? Nothing's ever really definite. But nonetheless, let me know what you guys think about the market, the condition, where you guys are at right now. Drop them in the comments below. I appreciate you guys. I am your host, David McDonald. It's another episode of the Premium Podcast. Much love.